Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to this week's edition of All in the Mishpacha. This week's edition of Mishpacha magazine features Hour by Grateful Hour. ALS froze Mendy Rosenberg's muscles, but it couldn't chill his spirits. Someone with unfortunate disease, Lou Gehrig's disease. I want to talk today, it's going to be a short one, about a letter to the editor, which is written in response to the double take story in last week's Mishpacha magazine. If people didn't read it, or people don't read Mishpacha magazine, I'll tell you what the double take was and is. Double take is basically a column where they make up a story and they give the perspective of two different people who basically have a claim to be right, and they argue with each other in terms of their vantage point, because everyone double take. Each person has their own vantage point. Each person thinks they're right. The story last week revolved around two cousins, a brother and a sister, and really the sister and the brother's wife, the sister-in-law. The sister had a daughter who was 13 years old, I think, and she was very shy. She's introverted. When the cousins got together, she would go off and read by herself. It's not even clear if she had any friends in school. As opposed, in contrast to her, in stark contrast to her, was her cousin, her first cousin, the daughter of the brother and the sister-in-law, who was very outgoing, was the star of the class, the most popular girl in the class. Um, Everything she said, everyone was gathered around her listening, and it was more pronounced at these family gatherings where this girl, her name was Libby, she would sit in the corner, and Mindy, who was the popular girl, would attract all the attention. Obviously, as a parent, this was from the perspective of both parents. The mother of the introverted girl felt bad for her daughter. She wanted her to be integrated more into social life, especially among the cousins. And she had wished that her niece Mindy would befriend her daughter and include her in the social activities. They were even in school together in the same class, and they really, it was like they didn't know each other in school. The one opportunity this girl Libby had to shine was during the summer. She went to a different summer camp, a special summer camp, or a smaller one that focused on developing talents. She was very good at, I think, singing, maybe it was, and so that was her time to shine. And her cousin didn't go to that camp; she went to a different camp, I guess a more popular camp. However, the unique twist was that that camp was closing this summer, and she heard about this other camp that her cousin Libby had been going to for 5, 6 years, and she wanted to come also. When she inquired, she asked her mother to talk to her aunt about it. And when the mother of this Libby found out that her niece Mindy might be going to this camp, she was very scared for her daughter. That was her only time to shine. She had a terrible 10 months during the school year, at least 2 months of the year during the summer. She could at least shine with her special talents in her camp away from, her cousin Mindy. So she got a call from, her sister-in-law that, can she get information about the camp. When she heard about this, the mother of Libby, she was shocked, and she knew the camp director. She called her up and she said, listen, you know, my daughter's been going through camp for many years. She has a cousin who wants to come. Her cousin's, most popular girl in the class. She's going to steal the spotlight, not only the 10 months of the year, but 12 months of the year. She's not going to have an opportunity to shine. At the end of the day, um, she applied, this girl Mindy, to the camp, along with two of her best friends from the same school. And Mindy was a good girl in school. She wasn't, someone who was not a good student. She was a good student. She didn't get into the camp, but her two friends did get into the camp, and the mother of Mindy was distraught, and she felt it's going to ruin her daughter. Her daughter was very upset because if her favorite camp closed down, now she couldn't get into her second choice, with her best friends, her summer was going to be ruined. So the mother ends off saying that if I found out that my sister-in-law got involved and had anything to do with this, I'm never going to talk to her again. And the mother of Libby is saying, listen, I knew I did the right thing, even though I had to make this call and I had to preclude my niece from coming to the summer camp with my daughter. I have to protect my daughter. My daughter comes first before my niece, and she felt it was her duty to get involved. Now, I discussed the two sides of the story with various people, including my wife and other people, and most of them felt that it was wrong for Libby's mother to get involved. Obviously, there's, both side has what to hang their head on. I felt personally that this mother of Libby did make the right decision to get involved because her daughter's 13 years old. Until your kid's like 18 years old, you're in charge of protecting your kids. Sometimes I take my kids to the park, and they go on the swings, but there's only two swings. So at the beginning, when I first came, there's other people on the swings. I felt like wrong, like asking other people to get off the swings and the kids taking off the swings. I felt uncomfortable. But then I'm like, you gotta protect your kids. You gotta stand up for your kids, even though it's uncomfortable for me to go other people until, go off the swing. So, you work it out. You say maybe your kids can go on for a couple more minutes, 2 more minutes, and then we'll switch back. Obviously, when their kids get off, and then when you tell the parents, is that, and then I implemented this, and then usually you tell the parents you can go on for like 5 more minutes, and then my kid usually after a minute they take their kid off, and they don't even come back for another turn. So it's great. It works out perfectly. But listen, as a parent, my oldest kid is 4 years old. I realize you gotta protect your kids. Until they're 18 years old, you gotta protect them. You gotta stand up for their rights. And listen, this was your daughter. She's introverted. Now people say, introverted is not. A lot of people wrote in letters to the editor in this week's edition and said it's not such a bad thing. Introverted is just as good as extroverted. Obviously people who know they're into extroverted and introverted, because I know both, because I grew up introverted and now I'm extroverted, so I know both sides of the story. And it's not good to be introverted. Introverted is something which is a negative, because everyone would love to be social. Every introverted person would love to be extroverted. No extroverted person would like to be introverted. So you can say all you want about it's a bonus to be introverted and to focus on yourself. There are times when it's good to be introverted and not to always be socializing with people, to contemplate important things in life, important decisions in life, the meaning of life, and, as a Jew, Torah values and things like that. But at the end of the day, in social situations, you don't want to be the person reading the book, in the corner or on their phone, pretending you're talking to somebody, or in the bathroom, or opening a Gemara and learning because you don't know how to socialize with people. So at the end of the day, extrovert is better than introverted. So the mother's spot on. She feels bad for her kid. Unfortunately, she's introverted. Some people were saying she's projecting herself onto her daughter, because she looks at, I have a kid who's a neba, who's an introvert, so she wants to fix that situation for her own personal gain. But there is an element of protection over here, and she's introverted, but she gets the summer to enjoy, So, and also she has a chazaka. We're talking about halakhic Jewry over here, Judaism. There's a concept of chazaka. She's been going there at least 5-6 years, so there's a chazaka that she has over there. So the question is, do you make the phone call and prevent your niece from coming to the camp with your daughter? And the answer is yes. I mean, if your sister-in-law would find out about it for sure, then maybe not. But if she's not going to find out about it and she'll come over to you and say, did you get involved? Which she probably won't do anyway, because she probably, will feel uncomfortable doing that, even suggesting that. But even if it were to come up at some point, you could just deny it and say, listen, no, I didn't tell anyone not to take your daughter, because the story was that the mother called the director and just explained the situation. She just told her what she was. Obviously, she didn't exactly say don't accept. She didn't say don't take Mindy, my niece. She just said, this is a situation. She explained my daughter's introverted, and this is their only time to shine. So, and the camp director took that and made a decision based on that. So it wasn't completely based on her. She wasn't forcing. She wasn't bribing, with money, the camp director. She told her the situation. And the camp director, based on her assessment and what she felt the right thing to do was to do that. So she didn't completely do it by herself, the mother. I want to read about 5 letters to the editor they put in this week's edition in response to that column. One of the letters struck a chord with me because it's an interesting story. I'll read it to you. In reference to the double take story about the shy girl and her cousin and the class queen, I'd like to point out that Libby's mother needs to take a back seat in this scenario and let the kids work it out on their own. Okay, so she's one of this writer feels that Libby's mother was wrong. I myself, this is an interesting story, had a similar situation where a bunch of parents told on my daughter about things that weren't even true just because she was more outgoing, more energetic, and prettier. It led to my daughter not getting into the seminary of her choice and completely altering her future just because a couple of parents couldn't accept that my daughter was better than theirs. We ended up sending her to seminary she didn't want to go to, which led to her leaving seminary after just 1 month. After this, she ended up sulking in low self-esteem for many years, causing her to drift away from tznius and Yiddishkeit as a whole. It's unfortunate that after years of my loving, caring, and perfect parenting, this mother is sure that she's a perfect parent, a couple of parents could tear down everything I've built. Now, I don't think she's a perfect parent. She sounds like she had a perfect daughter. I mean, what the kids that are born to you, it's not really in your control how, their characteristics. She had a perfect child until the child went off the derech. I don't think she's a perfect parent anyway. But a couple of parents could tear down everything I built. In this double take story, Sheva, Libby's mother, is acting extremely self-centered and not thinking at all about how every neshama is precious. And even though she wants to protect her daughter, she's doing it on the account of her niece. I believe in this scenario, Libby's mother has to let the situation unfold without interruption. Who knows? Maybe these two girl cousins might actually end up getting along after some quality camp time together. Written by a parent deeply concerned with the ways of our Avos Yisrael, a perfect mother, perfect parent. She's concerned about Avos Yisrael. Now, what happened with her daughter is very unfortunate, and there's a very big difference in what happened with her daughter and this story. That is a made-up story. The fact being is that apparently, according to this mother, people made up lies about her daughter. If you're going to lie about her daughter and say things that are not true, that is not the same thing as calling up and explaining to the camp director the situation, which was that your daughter is extroverted and her cousin is your daughter is introverted and her cousin is extroverted and she can steal her thunder. So you just explained the situation. You told her the facts. You told her the truth, and she didn't even tell her what to do. She made a decision based on her own. So you have the right to plead the case for your daughter. I mean, and she went to that camp first. She's been going to that camp for many years. You have the right to plead for your daughter. To go up and make up lies and say this girl Mindy, her cousin is a bad girl. She's a terrible student. She's going off the derech, which just wasn't true. That would have been a problem. I for sure would have agreed. But the reason they didn't put that in the story because everyone would say that's the wrong thing to do. Lying is not a way of doing it. It's never a good solution to lie for anything. Lying will never get you anywhere in life, in any aspect of life. And lying is a terrible thing when you do that to hurt somebody else. There was a rabbi of a certain yeshiva. He's a pretty famous rabbi in one of the gap year yeshivas here in Israel. He told me a personal story. The way he ended up being in the yeshiva in Israel is that he actually wanted a position in America, in the yeshiva program in America, and he was slated to become a rebbe. People want these jobs, second or third year bachram returning from America, in the yeshiva there, and he was going to get the job. And someone else was jealous of him, and they made up lies about him, and they told bad things, and he ended up getting the job. And based on that, he ended up moving to Israel and becoming a rebbe in this yeshiva, and he's very well liked in this yeshiva, and he's very successful there. And maybe he would have done better in America, maybe done better in here. But the point is that when he told me this story personally, I don't know why he told me this story. I'm not even that close to him, but he told me the story, and it happens. Unfortunately, this happens a lot. People are jealous. A lot of jealous people out there, and people are willing to lie just to damage others' reputation. It's very unfortunate. And what happened in the story with her daughter, the letter writer over here, it was terrible what they did to her daughter, and it's unfortunate that she went off the derech. She went to the wrong ceremony. She went off the derech because of this. Everything is orchestrated min hashamayim, but the people are at the fault out here for doing this to her daughter. If it's actually true what she says, that they lied about her daughter and made up stories, that's very sad. It's very sad. However, as I mentioned, there's a huge difference in the two stories. So therefore, it's important to keep in mind that, at least from my perspective, that I think it's important to stand up for your child as much as you can, even if it means risking a relationship with your sister-in-law, because your daughter marries a lot more than your niece. I'm sorry, your niece is nice, but your daughter, there's only 7 people in the world that you sit shiva for. Your parents, your kids, your spouse, and your siblings. That's it. Your niece is not one of them. Your daughter is one of those things. So one of those people. So the Torah already tells you, who the special relationships in your life are. Everyone else, a niece is like, a third cousin or, a stranger, basically, according to the Torah. There's not any better, but you have a special relationship, and you're supposed to have a special relationship with your daughter, and you have to protect her at all costs. Until she's 18 years old and she can fend for herself, you have to do everything you can, obviously with telling the truth and not lying, to make sure that she has the best experience. That's what I have to say about this. Hope you enjoyed. See you next week.